Welcome to tonight's primary candidate forum, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of the Midland area and Midland Community TV, MCTV. This evening you will see a two-part program featuring Republican primary candidates for the offices of Sheriff and Drain Commissioner. District 6 County Commissioner is also a contested Republican race, but those candidates were unable to be with us tonight. I am Kathy Anders, President of the League of Women Voters of the Midland area. The League of Women Voters of the Midland area is a local, nonpartisan civic organization affiliated with the state and national League of Women Voters organizations. The League works to support voters by encouraging active participation in government and voting, increasing understanding of major public policy issues, and influencing policy through education and advocacy. Membership in our organization is open to people 16 years and older of all gender identities and offers opportunities for leadership, advocacy, and networking. The League never supports or opposes candidates or political parties. Information about the League is available on our website, lwvmidlandarea.org. For primary elections, the League of Women Voters hosts candidate forums for the races in which there are multiple candidates within a party. This year, for county-level offices, there are no contested races within the Democratic Party. Therefore, tonight's forum is for Republican Party primary candidates only. Also, please note that tonight's forum will be recorded for rebroadcast on MCTV Charter Spectrum Channel 191. It will also be available on the MCTV YouTube channel and on the Cablecast Community Media app. There will also be a link on our League of Women Voters of the Midland area website. The ground rules for tonight are as follows. Each candidate will be given a 1-minute opening statement. After that, we will have a question and answer segment. After I ask a question, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Because this is a forum rather than a debate, there will be no rebuttals. At the end of the question and answer segment, each candidate will be given 1 minute for a closing statement. Judy Keel and Sandra Houghton are our official timers. They will raise a warning card when a speaker has 30 seconds remaining, and again when 15 seconds are remaining. When time is up, I will stop the speaker, allowing for completion of a sentence. Before we get started, I ask the audience to refrain from any vocal reactions for or against any candidates or statements made by the candidates, and to applaud only when I announce that this segment of our forum has ended. I also want to make sure that you have silenced your electronic devices. No photographs should be taken to avoid interference with the MCTV studio operation. We will begin with the Republican candidates for Midland County Sheriff. On the left is James Chambers, and on the right is Scott Holzinger. The order in which we proceed with questions was determined by a drawing prior to us beginning the forum. That order will be rotated during the question and answer section. Mr. Chambers, we will begin with you. You have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on. I appreciate it, and it does help the candidates and the people in Midland County. My name is Jim Chambers. I was born and raised in Midland County. I worked at a company, my family-owned company, since I was 12 years old. Later on in life, I bought that company and managed it for 22 years. I also worked in the jail for over 20 years, so I feel I have the experience I need to do the job as a sheriff. Thank you.
Mr. Holzinger, you have 1 minute.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this tonight. I agree with Jim. This is a great opportunity for us and for the voters to get to know us. Real quick, I'd like to wish my mom, Jan, a happy 70th birthday today. Again, my name is Scott Holzinger. I've spent nearly half of my life serving the people of Midland County. I've been employed at the Sheriff's Office for the last 22 years. I'm running for sheriff because I believe that the people of Midland County deserve to have an experienced leader who is focused on problem solving as the world of law enforcement continues to change. in the event that I'm elected, I give you my vow that we will have a transparent office with accountability that empowers our employees to allow our deputies at all levels do the best job that they possibly can for our citizens and visitors.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll proceed with the question and answer part of our program. Our first question will begin with Mr. Holzinger. Mr. Holzinger, what do you see as the most significant crime issues in Midland County, and how do you propose to mitigate these issues?
Well, one of the things that makes Midland great is it's safe. We have a relatively low crime percentage or number of serious crimes, but they still do exist. I would say in my current role as detective, it gives me a unique perspective on this question because I handle, along with my partner, the most serious offenses or cases that come through our office. We have seen a significant rise in elder abuse cases, not just physical but financial. We aren't immune from problems like drug use, theft, homicide, and things of that sort. But one thing that I've seen increase dramatically in my current role is abuse of our elders, both financially and physically. In terms of fixing this or dealing with this problem, I'm part of the McVan board, which meets monthly based out of Senior Services is where we host our meetings. And educating our elderly and our public, utilizing Senior Services to assist us with that has been great in terms of spreading the word and helping to identify these problems and educate our citizens who may be vulnerable in this situation. And if elected, one thing I would like to do is increase that education even more. A larger social network presence from our office, I think, is warranted. There are several different options for social media, obviously, but I think we can be more proactive in getting information out to our folks to let them know what we're seeing and what we're dealing with.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chambers, same question.
Well, I'm not in the department anymore, so I'm just going by what I hear around the county. And I feel that property crimes are probably one of the biggest things that affect the people of Midland County. And I have certain ways that I would try to combat that. But unfortunately, most of these crimes are connected to people who have a drug addiction, to either the meth, heroin, or any of the other drugs. And therefore, I'd like to work with the youth, if elected, to try to educate them, lead them down the right path, to try to make the sheriff department more friendly, more of a community police, so they don't get to the age and the attitude where they don't care anymore. I want to get to them before society turns them bad. There's other crimes that happen around Midland County. Luckily, there's no real significant big crimes. We've been very lucky. It's a very safe community to live in, and I want to keep it that way. I will tackle any kind of problem that we have when it comes to crime heads on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Our next question begins with Mr. Chambers. What, if any, additional mental and physical health services are needed in the county jail?
Well, over my years of working in the county jail, I've seen a lot of mental people come into jail that probably shouldn't have been there. Unfortunately, there's not services out there to handle the mentally impaired people, and therefore they end up coming to the Midland County Jail. The jail had, and I think they still do, have a real good mental policy going on. They work very hard with social services and so on and so forth to attend to these people. I guess we'd have to get across to people that we need other services to handle the people that are mentally handicapped rather than sending them to jail. I'm not sure just how I could do that, but it'd be one of the concerns that I would have as sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holzinger, same question.
I agree with Jim in regards to the fact that there are some people who commit crimes who have cognitive issues who probably don't belong in our jail, but they do end up there. I actually think that this problem is a little bit bigger than just Midland County. From collaboration and being on boards with agencies such as CMH, I know that they are in dire need of hiring in several different areas within their staffing. And when they're low on staffing, I think it affects the quality and time that they're able to spend with their clients. So I think that that in itself could help deal with some of the issues that we have with these folks ending up in our jail. We also have the issue, once inside our jail, people are there for upwards of a year, sometimes longer and sometimes shorter, and during that time develop mental conditions. And during this campaign season of talking to other sheriffs, one thing that I'm going to consider if elected is a work release program. As simple as it sounds, to get people, out of their cell, out of their pod, get them outside feeling like a normal, working, living human being. And I think that is a tangible thing that we could accomplish. Like everything else, it would involve a learning curve and looking at the pros and cons. But I think work release is something that could drastically lower some of the issues that we have with mental health issues inside the jail.
Okay, thank you very much. Our last question of this segment begins with Mr. Holzinger. Are the current jail facilities adequate, and if so, will they continue to be?
Yes, we have a beautiful jail built, I believe, I don't want to misspeak, 2007. The bond for the jail will be paid off in full, I believe, in 2028, which will be a benefit to the taxpayers. At that time, I think we could look at doing some additional add-ons to the facilities that would help with different issues such as mental health problems. Yes, if elected, we would absolutely strive to continue to have a clean, safe, operational jail. We have wonderful deputies that work inside the jail. They work hard. Unfortunately, sometimes I think in the world of law enforcement that they're forgotten. They have a very difficult job. It's out of sight, out of mind, but these folks are working right now and working every single day to make sure that they provide security and care for the people that are within our jail. And, providing them with a safe and clean, operational, functional environment is absolutely a priority. The Constitution of the state of Michigan makes it clear that a sheriff is responsible for the operation of a county jail. And that's what we will do if I am elected, and will continue to do.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers, same question.
Yes, I think the jail is adequate at this time, and I think there is some improvements that need to be done to the jail after working in it. I agree with Scott. One of the things that we do need to add on is a work release program to get especially the young first-time offenders out back into the community and make them feel like responsible people again, and give them something to strive for, some self-esteem. Staffing in the jail has always been a problem. It was when I worked there. The jail has a capacity of approximately 270 people, and right now I believe it's around 200 people we have in jail. We do rent a lot of bed space out. We have to make a bond payment for another 4 years, like Scott said, of $1.8 million a year. And the jail so far has been able to cover that bond payment and sometimes have extra money to turn back into the general fund. But one of the biggest things about the jail is keeping it well staffed. And I'm like Scott, I really do believe that we need a work release program. When I was there, they had a policy of $270 a week for a work release person. Well, you can't put a kid out there working for $15 an hour and expect him to pay $270. So therefore, I think it should be based on a percentage of the wage he takes in. I am more than grateful for all the people that work in the jail. They work very hard, and it's a thankless job. Thank you.
Thank you. We've now moved to our closing statements for each candidate. Each candidate will have 1 minute, and we'll begin with Mr. Chambers.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters again, and the people of Midland County. I've met a lot of really nice people out on the campaign trail. I hope I come across to the people that I've talked to with my concerns and thing. I'm not a politician. I speak from the hip, and I would like to be the sheriff of Midland County. I feel that I could contribute to the betterment of Midland County and the safety of the officers and their training and the well-being of the people of Midland County. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Holzinger, 1 minute as well.
As you prepare to head to the polls here, or whether you're doing it by mail or in person, what I'd ask of each and every one of you that are watching this is take your time and do some research on not only the sheriff candidates, but the candidates in all races, and educate yourself and make informed decisions before voting. For this race, I ask that you focus on 3 things. The first one being experience and leadership. I'm the only candidate that is currently working in law enforcement, the only candidate that is a certified police officer, and the only candidate that's worked in every division of the sheriff's office. The second one would be our vision, or my vision. We can't afford to go backwards. Rapid changes within law enforcement are making us make changes and look at ways to deliver our services in a more efficient way. And the last thing I would ask you to do is ask and look at the experts. All 5 unions within the law enforcement community in Midland have endorsed my campaign, along with the Police Officers Association of Michigan. I ask for your vote on August 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the first portion of tonight's forum. As we prepare for the next forum, some information will appear on your screen regarding the countywide proposals that are on the primary ballot. In addition, there'll be information on other primary candidates running for office in Midland County. Thank you very much to our participating candidates. And that's the conclusion of part 1.
(2024) 911 Central Dispatch Millage Renewal Proposal. For the purpose of continuing funding to provide and maintain the centralized Midland County enhanced 911 and dispatching services for law enforcement, fire, emergency medical assistance, and the Midland County Public Safety Radio Communication System, shall the County of Midland renew the previously voted increase in the limitation of total amount of general ad valorem taxes, which may be imposed for all purposes upon all taxable real and personal property in Midland County, as authorized by Article 9, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963, as amended, which last resulted in a levy of 0.7 mil and continued to levy up to 0.7 mil of taxable valuation on such property as finally equalized during the years of 2025 through 2028. Both inclusive, which approved and levied in its entirety is estimated to raise $2,721,011 in the first year. 2024 Road Millage Renewal Proposal. for the purpose of continuing funding for the Midland County Road Commission programs to construct, maintain, repair, and improve highway, road, street, and bridge systems within the County of Midland, including the City of Midland, the City of Coleman, and the Village of Sanford. Shall the County of Midland renew the previously voted increase in the limitation of total amount of general ad valorem taxes which may be imposed for all purposes property in Midland County as authorized by Article 9, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963, as amended, which last resulted in a levy of 1.00 mil and continued to levy up to 1.00 mil of taxable valuation on such property as finally equalized during the years of 2025 through 2028, both inclusive, which, if approved and levied in its entirety, is estimated to raise $3,887,159 in the first year. Pinecrest Infirmary Millage Renewal and Increase Proposal. For the purpose of operating and maintaining the Pinecrest Farms County Infirmary for the benefit of disadvantaged individuals, shall the previously approved increase in the limitation of total amount of general ad valorem taxes, which may be imposed for purposes upon all taxable real and personal property in Midland County, as authorized by Article 9, Section 6 of Michigan Constitution of 1963, as amended, of 0.37 mil be renewed and increased for a levy up to 0.5 mil of taxable valuation as finally equalized for levy in the years of 2024 through 2033, both inclusive, which, if approved and levied in its entirety, is estimated to raise $1,943,579 in the first year.
Welcome back. This is part 2 of the League of Women Voters of the Midland Area Primary Candidate Forum. I am Kathy Anders. I'm president of the local branch of the League of Women Voters. Before we resume, I'd like to remind our audience to refrain from any vocal reactions for or against any candidate or statements made by the candidate, and to applaud only when I announce that our forum has ended. In this forum, we will address the Republican primary race for Drain Commissioner. Once again, we will start with 1-minute opening statements, continue with the question and answer session, and conclude with 1-minute closing statements. Let me introduce you to the Republican candidates for Drain Commissioner. On the left is Joe Sova, and on the right is Tom McCann. As before, the order in which we will proceed was determined beforehand by a drawing. That order will be rotated during the question and answer segment. For opening statements, Mr. Sova, we will begin with you. You have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Thank you, Kathy, and the League of Women Voters for this forum and the opportunity for public candidates for public office to speak with the public. My name is Joe Sova. I am currently the Midland County Drain Commissioner, and I have, not intentionally, but my life's work has really prepared me for this job. going back, growing up in an excavating company, family business, as well as my education in accounting and finance. Then further as utilities director at the City of Midland, and retiring from there has led me to the Drain Commissioner office, which I find to be probably one of the most important jobs that we can have, that we can hold in this community. It affects virtually everyone in some aspect or another, and I am prepared to continue my work and improving the office of the Drain Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. McCann, you have 1 minute.
Again, I would like to also thank the Women League voters here in Midland area. My name is Tom McCann. I am a lifelong resident of Midland County. Living here in Midland County, I watched the flooding of Midland County here, particularly for the last 8 years. The drains are not being properly maintained here in Midland County. We do need a change. There's been an explosion of the mosquito population here because the drains are not being properly maintained. And when the drains are dug out, they're not properly being correctly up to engineering standards. People are flooding now. As an example, Lee Township Fire Barn is underwater every time it rains. The property owners at the other end are underwater on that. And also, another example, Larkin Township, drains were dug out there. Their homeowners are underwater there. Ingersoll Township is underwater because the drains are not properly maintained there. We need a change at the Drain Commission office because the work is not being done. And so I'm Tom McCann. Vote for me. We'll have a change there.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. All right, now we begin our question and answer segment. Our first question is for Mr. McCann. Despite major flooding in 2017 and 2020, the Office of Drain Commissioner has a low public profile. Why is this, and what can be done to elevate the office and its programs to be more visible to the public?
I've been speaking to a lot of people, and people are concerned about the flooding in Midland County. And I've been talking a lot, and when they call the Drain Commissioner, they're not getting no response. To change my thing, I will go out and I'll hold offices at the local township offices where they can come to me and we can work on this as together as a community. I'll go out to every township hall and hold meetings there with everyone and set up their thing so they can come to me, rather in different times, because people work in this town work shift work and everything else. So that's what we need to do, is have this as a community solution, not just as a Drain Commissioner solution. Let's work on this together as a Midland County solution. And we can go through and work on grants, because the taxes on people's for this is getting ridiculous. So let's work on grants to get this resolved. This is getting ridiculous, because this is getting too high in people's taxes, and they can't afford this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Silva, you have 2 minutes. Same question.
The flooding in 2017 and 2020, it kind of exposed some of the weaknesses in our drainage systems. The problem with the low profile of the Drain Commission office is that you can't tell by driving down the road what is a county drain and what is a roadside ditch or owned by a municipality. So education is important to identify what is an actual county drain that you live near or you're benefiting from. And that generally starts with an initial project. And we have a record number of petition projects going right now because of the demands for improvements. A lot of times the actual drainage issue is not the drain itself. It is the water can't get to the drain because of a roadside ditch, a road crossing, or just the topography doesn't allow drainage to the drain. Education, like I said, is vital, and I've improved website presence. Our communication, we hold office hours, business hours every week, all day. We have someone there from 7 in the morning until 6 at night most weeks. Communication is really not a problem. We can be contacted via email, via phone call, we have 3 employees in our office. We do respond to calls, but at times there are so many calls, especially when we have a day of review, we may have 60 calls or an additional 60 to 100 email. It does take time with such a small office to be able to respond in a timely fashion. But people do get responded to. We give them a full explanation of what they're looking for, and generally are happy with the responses.
Thank you, Mr. Sova. Our next question will begin with Mr. Sova. As the county enforcing agent for soil erosion and sediment control permits, how do you ensure property owners follow the conditions of their permits? And can you enlighten us on the audit and inspection process?
Well, my office is the authorized permitting agent for soil erosion and soil sediment control permitting in the county, other than the city. Any earth activity over a certain size or near a waterway, a county waterway or a natural waterway, is required to have a permit. What helps with being that our county is a fairly large county and a lot of miles have to be driven in order to identify those who are performing earth activities without a permit, we do rely on communication relationships with the Road Commission and other municipalities to keep us abreast where we don't know what's going on in the field other than our own observations. We ensure when we see earth activity or are made aware of it that the owners are getting up to code with their permit, and a lot of times they're going to have to pay an extra fee if they have started some earth activity without a permit. If we are having problems with them maintaining the site, and it's basically we want to avoid sediment from getting into our waterways. So that's our main purpose of enforcement. If things are more difficult with the landowner, we seek the advice and backing from the state. And that allows us to put a little bit more bite into the permit process and to make sure that folks that are engaging in earth activities are doing it properly and they're maintaining a secure land environment.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCann, also 2 minutes.
What we'd have to do is, there's other ways you can also look at it. You got to work with the landowners. You know, people like to dig ponds and stuff, but you got to make sure they do have the permits. And also, you can also check out the area with drones. You don't have to also do that. So, drones are cheaper than going through and having to fly over with planes. You can check out with drones and do that too. And I know the people, don't like drones flying over, but that's a cheaper way to check out also. Yeah, it's word of mouth also, checking out that. But you can do enforcement, like they're going to have fines if they're doing land removal without permits. You can enforce it. You may have to get the prosecutors involved. If they're doing involved law enforcement, prosecutors involved with that. If they're doing what they're not supposed to, like go through the state also and have them check that out too, if they're not going to comply. But most landowners around Midland County are going to comply with what they're supposed to do. You haven't found anyone do that, but majority of landowners are tired of the flooding. I've talked to a lot of them, and people are tired of the flooding, and that's what they're doing is because they're moving dirt or stuff because of the flooding. They can't take it anymore because they can't enjoy their property anymore because of the amount of flooding and the amount of mosquitoes out there are so horrible because of the amount of flooding that's going on because the drains are not being properly maintained, and that's the issue that's going on. That's what people are taking into their own hands, and that's what's going on. If the drains are properly maintained, they wouldn't be doing this on their own. And that's what's causing a lot of the issues, why people are taking it in their own hands, because the drains are not properly maintained. There's so much flooding going on private property, people are not having a choice. If the drains were properly maintained, this would not be going on and people would not be doing it on their own. That's why people are doing it on their own. And there is people doing it on their own without permits because of the flooding, because of the mosquito populations is not under control because of the flooding.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. Our final question of the evening begins with Mr. McCann. According to the county website, the annual expenditure for Drain Commissioner office is approximately $500,000. How does this compare to previous years, and is it adequate?
I think that the Drain Commissioner budget is a little under what it should be. I think it needs to be a little higher. I know the people don't like to say, hey, you spend more money, but I think there's ways to get higher revenue. We should be looking at grants through FEMA, through rural development. I don't know why our current administration is not looking at getting grants. Example is I looked at the state of Mississippi. They have $261 million for their drain projects. Michigan got $70 million, but half of that, $40 million, is diverted for highway drainage. Why is our state not looking at getting grants? Mississippi got a lot of their money for grants through the federal government. We should be looking at getting grants. There's no reason why our drain commissioner can't look at getting grants. There's a lot of grant money from the federal government through those programs. We should be looking at, so that cost is not always on the taxpayer. There's a lot of grants out there to have. We should be looking at getting those grants for our drain, and not always put on the taxpayer. That's not right that they go through. Another thing is when a drain comes up there, I know the drain commissioner has the ability to go say, oh, we're going to just put it on the taxpayer. I would like to see if it's possible, say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. Let's put it to the vote for those people that are going to be affected. Because that's a lot of money that people are paying for. Right now, where I live, we're paying for 3 drains. It's $1,700 for the total drains that are on the taxes. That's a lot of people that are in poor area that are paying for those 3 drains. It's the Larkin drain, the Harold drain, and the West Prairie Creek drain that's on the tax bill. That's a lot of money. A lot of poor people are paying for those 3 drains for 20 years on their taxes. That's a lot of money that people are paying for in that area. And also, like I said, the Lee Township Fire Barn's underwater. 8 Mile and Stewart Road's underwater right now. Those drains are cleaned out. Ingersoll Township's underwater. Larkin Township's underwater. Midland Township's underwater. There's no reason for these places to be underwater when there's drains right there that should have been cleaned out correctly, and those drains are not cleaned out correctly. And it's being a mosquito control population is exploding because the drains are not cleaned out correctly.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Silva, same question, 2 minutes.
The county budget, we do not have equipment. We do not budget for maintenance of drains. That $500,000 is not for maintenance operations. That is for the salary of 3 people and 2 vehicles and some office expenditures. If we were to budget for every drain, it would be millions and millions of dollars being taken out of our economy. The only time that we assess folks is when we do work on a drain. So we don't, because a lot of times it's reactionary. We're reacting to debris, a beaver dam or a log jam that needs to be removed, or debris in the drain. So when that occurs, we have to contract, because we do not have equipment. We contract with contractors to remove the debris. We then ultimately have to assess the landowners in that drainage district for those costs. I'm going to point to Larkin Township. There was a major intercounty drain, the Waldo, that was completed a couple of years ago. Very big drain, intercounty. Since then, the Larkin Township has petitioned 6 petitions for work to be done in that in subdivisions in Larkin Township. Plus, we've got another one on the west part of the township. I cannot do major work as a drain commissioner unless it is petitioned either by landowners or a municipality, and then I have to put together a board of determination to determine, and I don't get to make this decision. A board of determination determines whether the project is necessary. So it has to be initiated, then it has to be basically authorized by a board of determination. Once that is found to be necessary, I have to go in. I am obligated by statute to go into action, build a scope, and then finance and construct the drain.
Okay, thank you. And now closing statements. Each candidate has 1 minute, and we will begin with Mr. Silva.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity this evening to speak to all of you. The Drain Commission position, it isn't known by a lot of folks, except for the folks that actually have endured a petition project or a redistricting of boundaries where they've had an opportunity to speak with our representatives in our office. And the complexity of the drain code and the other additional responsibilities of the Drain Commissioner, being on the Parks and Rec Commission, being on the Public Works Board, being on the Lake Improvement Boards of Sanford and Wixom, for which I am chair of both. Those are additional responsibilities beyond just drains. And it requires someone with knowledge, experience in the drain world to be able to meet the demands that we are seeing and continue to see in our county.
Thank you. Mr. McCann, 1 minute, closing statement.
My name is Tom McCann. I'd like to be your next drain commissioner, and if you vote for me, I'll make sure when the drains are put in, they're put in correctly. I've mentioned some drains that were not put in correctly when they were dug out. They're flowing wrong. We have issues with the drains that are being put in wrong because we have a fire barn that's underwater every time it rains. We have residents that are underwater every time it rains. We have different areas that are underwater that are underwater when it rains. We have a mosquito population that is exploding because of the drains that are not being cleaned out and drains that are put in incorrectly. If you vote for me, I'll make sure these drains are fixed correctly, and I will look for grants to cover these expenses because right now they're not looking for grants. There's grants out there that are available, and I will make sure that we look for these grants to cover some of these costs. There's grants available that we should be getting the cost of these drains down. That's what I'm for. Let's get the mosquito control population under control the flooding in Midland County. Vote for Tom McCann. Let's get this flooding under control.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. That concludes tonight's forums. We heard earlier from Republican primary candidates for sheriff and just now for drain commissioner. We hope you learned each candidate's views and goals for the offices they seek. I want to thank the candidates for participating in this forum and also thank them for their willingness to serve as elected officials in these challenging times. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you for your time and interest in watching this forum. Members of the League of Women Voters of the Midland area hope what you've seen and heard on this program tonight will help you with your voting decisions. We believe it is vital for citizens to demonstrate informed and active participation in our government, so please be sure to vote. For more information on these and other candidates in their own words, go to our information website, vote411.org. You will also find the ballot proposals for your area on this website. Vote411.org is an online voter guide published by the League of Women Voters. You can vote in this election in a variety of ways: absentee, in-person early voting, or in-person on Election Day. In-person early voting is from Saturday, July 27th up to and including Sunday, August 4th. The early voting center is located at the Grace A. Dow Library in Midland. Election Day is August 6th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Detailed information can be found at vote411.org, through the county clerk's office, or the Michigan Secretary of State website. Finally, I'd like to thank the people that made this program possible. Matt Richardson, manager of MCTV, production manager Matt Thomas, production specialist Chris Ferguson, and production assistants Jim Malik and Diva Massey. Thank you also to the following contributors from our local league: Tracy Brown, Sandra Houghton, Nancy Carney, Junie Keel, Kim Steinke, and Ann Wallen. That concludes our program for this evening. Thank you very much for watching.